I think humans have been awakening the whole time, and awakening is a continuous process. It's one that we go through individually, but then it's also a process that the entire species is going through together as a collective.
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And welcome everybody to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast Show. I am so grateful that you are here today. I have got an amazing guest. Beautiful guest. Somebody has spent his whole adult life practically. He's been in the shamanic realm. I want to say he's been surfing the technologies. He's been knowing the plant medicines, and he's just really followed, I want to say, the calling of his soul. And he's got a lot to share with us around, as a futurist, around spirituality and technology and all kinds of stuff, plant medicine. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff today, and you're not going to want to miss it. So it's so great. I'm just so grateful to have this time together with you today, Hamilton.
Well, thanks so much, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be here and really excited for this conversation.
Awesome. So let me just tell you guys a bit about Hamilton here. So Maestro Hamilton Souther, he is a trained master shaman. I wasn't kidding. I told you he's shamanic, who received his training from Julio Pinedo, a renowned healer. He's isn't it amazing, these lineages of healing? Blows me away. It's so interesting. In 2004, he became the first Westerner to become recognized as a Maestro Medico Vegetalista. That's another way of saying Amazonian plant medicine expert. That's pretty special too, which is a title of distinction in the field of plant medicine. In 2002, at the age of just 23, this is what's really blows me away. After graduating from the University of Anthropology, Hamilton opened Blue Morpho, the first healing center in the Peruvian Amazon, focusing on Amazonian natural medicine and the sustainable use of Amazonian visionary medicines. Hamilton is a bridge between ancient wisdom and cutting-edge innovation, fully immersed in the modern world with a foot in Web3 and AI. He is not just keeping pace with the future, he is helping to shape it. He is on a mission to awaken consciousness and technology for the betterment of humanity. So, yeah, I really find this to be a fascinating time to be living. Everybody's like, well, we're finally going to wake up spiritually, and there's all these ideas. But at the same time, I'm like, well, if we go back to ancient times or certain ancient civilizations, if we go to certain places on the earth right now, they're already living what we would call an enlightened society and culture, life, whatever, all those things. But when you go to mix it up and to also bring the technological aspect and bring it into all of us that have been evolving in other ways with our mind, right? Over all these thousands and thousands of years at least, right? It's pretty interesting to think about awakening more fully and deeply on that level, isn't it? So I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
I think humans have been awakening the whole time, and awakening is a continuous process. It's one that we go through individually, but then it's also a process that the entire species is going through together as a collective. And we keep seeing at different points in history, people come forth that have great teachings and great awarenesses that are outside the veil or the box of what was known at that time. And, some are forgotten and some are well remembered in our history. But the idea is that those aren't the only people that are awakening. There are always people awakening. And I think it's just a natural part of living. And what's really interesting about what's going on right now in the world is that our own development, mind, body, spirit, and awakenings that we're going through in the realms of consciousness are now starting to show themselves and influence what we see in our innovations, our technology, the tools that we're building. And so there's a convergence taking place. And I think that is really unique to this time in history.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Totally. I mean, one of the things, again, just thinking about what's happening is that there's so many different levels and layers of awakening, in my opinion. I think there's become too much of an idea that built up that waking up means one thing, in terms of spiritually speaking, or, or just in general, or I don't know, like, or enlightenment is just one thing. Once you become enlightened, it's just that's enlightenment, and like you get there or whatever this idea. And I think there's all different aspects of it. You could be a totally connected, spiritually awake being in some ways, but like literally starved to death because you're not paying attention to other things, right? I've had people on this show. I forget the name of the guest, but somebody had gone around the world with the Dalai Lama and all these different, people that are considered enlightened masters. He studied them, interviewed them, all this stuff. And he says, yeah, they might be enlightened in some ways, but they're not necessarily great in other areas, and making money, or great in relationships, or great in all the other ways, that there's so many ways you could be more enlightened or more awakened for all of us. So I think it's this big myth that you just, hey, either you're awake or you're not, or either you're enlightened or you're not. Really have seen more deeply and fully finally, was probably obvious, but like, man, it's not a flat idea. It's not like just one kind of concept.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I don't think it could be. And, when I hear that, I just think that that's the same dualistic binary argument that you're supposed to work through on that path to awakening anyway. And so, most of the people that I know that are most awake and most aware do very little of the talking in the world, kind of out there in general. And they go about their spiritual practices and they share it with the people that are around them. Some are healers that actually perform healing arts and, help people get past illnesses and disease. And some are teachers and they share their wisdom in the ways that they can and impart that upon their students. But the real voice kind of out there in the pop culture around this, I think, is a separate beast in its own right to what it's really like to be on the spiritual path. When you experience that deep calling, and I was talking about this on a recent lecture, that no one else knows. You're the only one that knows. And so if someone came to you and said, well, how do you know you've had that deep calling? You have to know in your soul, in your core, in your heart, and you have to be able to answer honestly that you've experienced it. And from that moment on, you have that calling and you're going forward in your path of awakening. And I think it's an uncarved territory for each person. You have to follow that journey that has been carved out for your soul while you're alive, really embrace it, knowing that there's going to be difficult moments, and then just live it. And it's not going to fit in any kind of box.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, the deeper awakened states I've entered into and maintained for periods of time, I'm like, well, everything feels joyful, everything's bliss. It doesn't even, if there's upset people around me or drama, I'm just like, yeah, okay, it's life happening. It's like literally, like it's not even a mental construct. It's just how you feel. It's the vibration you're in. And yet I could argue that that's not it either. Like, I mean, there is no it, is how I look at it now. I mean, so I mean, so yeah, anyway, I think it's very interesting. The whole thing is just fascinating to me, this whole concept of waking up. So, but you're looking at all this technology. I want to get into that. So we've got Web3, which I don't know, I barely understand. I just know it's this big thing that's happening, and we're going to be interacting with holograms or something in Web3 or whatever. All the things. I'd love to even know what Web3 is. So maybe we could start there. So when you talk about Web3 coming, for example, as part of the big shift that Meta, is one of the well-known ones that came out. Web3 is coming and everything. Can you tell us more what the heck Web3 really is anyway?
Yeah, all these things are technologies. So Web 1 is the first internet that allows two people to send information to each other, computer to computer. And Web 2 is all these platforms that we see now that people are using, these networked platforms and cloud computing, and even the way we're talking today, having this conversation, is Web 2. And you see that it's now a highly concentrated tech and media industry in the world, and really massive companies own aspects of the infrastructure. And I think that Web3 in its most basic sense is a community-owned version of the internet that allows people to be participants in creating the networks, sharing in the value of the creation of those networks, and in a way owning an aspect of it. And so it's really a more egalitarian concept of the internet and its importance as a communication tool. And it's still very early, it's very young. It's only been around really for about 12, 13 years. Even, and it's just now starting to take on a more awareness in the public. And then there are different uses for it. So once you understand, it's like, oh, it's a more egalitarian, user created or person to person created expression of the internet. How do you want to use that? Well, some groups are infrastructure groups, and some are communication based groups, and some are finance based groups, some are community, etc. So you start to see the use of that technology become applied. And I'm involved in projects both in the infrastructure side of it and the use case, like how can we actually use this to be a positive benefit.
Yeah. Yeah, so like cryptocurrencies, for example, would be like the Web3 type of a idea. Is that right or no?
Yeah, the beginnings of cryptocurrencies find their heart in Web3. The
Mhm.
idea of the first real cryptocurrency is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is designed as a peer-to-peer network to transact this digital currency between people. Really simple, right? It's a really simple concept with, I think, one really important advantage, which was that it has a single source of truth about the movement. Whereas you see in other situations, the doctoring of accounting books, the ledger that, shows the transactions being altered in some way, that's not possible within Bitcoin. So if a piece of a Bitcoin goes from party A to party B, there's a central source of truth for that, and the network maintains that truth. And I think that's a key element to it. And then that has grown to systems that can not only execute a transaction between two parties, but a contract, an agreement.
Mhm.
So that becomes an interesting form of a use case where not only could I send you this currency or you could send me this currency, but we together could, by sending a message to each other, make a computer do something like an escrow or enact a loan or provide some kind of other value to you. And so those are like the earliest use cases that we're seeing that are really prominent right now. And it's also used in gaming and people utilizing it to entertain and have fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like every technology, it seems like I could see the advantages and the downfalls of all of them. Yeah, with this, like, oh, we can know what your transact. There's no question about it. Well, that's kind of certainty is scary to some of us, not because we're doing something wrong necessarily, but because maybe that could be used against us. We see you did business with XYZ and it's crystal clear, and all that. And then on the other hand, you've got all this transparency that can be very illuminating and helpful and keep people honest. And there's so many aspects to each scenario. I mean, it's pretty interesting. But I think, if we can use perhaps, I don't know. Are you someone that's like, we just have to go to Web3 and like we just need to burn down all the other financial systems, or something like that? I don't know. Like, or are you more like, no, it probably is balance of stuff, or how do you look at that?
I think I'm more uh, good question. I think I'm more a person who recognizes the nature of evolution.
Hmm.
And when I think of transparency, I think your transparency with the cosmos or the universe, consciousness or God is the ultimate transparency. And that's a very intimate relationship that no one else knows anything about. And I think a sad aspect for humans is that they've moved into this kind of surveillance state. And I think it really reduces the understanding of personal privacy and the importance of privacy as a kind of safety and intimacy you feel with yourself and your closest loved ones. And I think that humanity, I like to study history and deep history to try to understand patterns. And I think humanity shows great times of expansion, and then they grow to a certain size, and then this quality about them starts to kick in that wants to control and know more, and it starts to create a kind of dark age. And I think that right now we're in one of those dark ages in the things that you described as like the negatives that we see. And I think ultimately there's a contraction that takes place that's difficult for everybody. And then Earth evolves again and people evolve again with it. And it kind of moves in another direction. And I think that's what we're really seeing now. Ultimately, I think that with artificial intelligence and the innovations that are taking place there, that we're going to move beyond a money-based economic system. And I know that's really hard to imagine when people were only born to one. But if we go into deep history, we see that humans lived without money exponentially longer than they have with money. Money is a really recent technology that was created to try to solve a problem, and it's become a very dominant problem now. So it's created to solve a problem, and it's become a dominant problem. And so I think that these are just early attempts to try to innovate new solutions, and you don't have to burn anything down. There's no reason to become destructive in any way. People are destructive in their own nature. We just want to see that the evolution that's coming is in a direction that leads us out of this dark age and into really a much more humane expression of humanity, a much more civil version of civilization, and an understanding that as a global species, we transcend this polarity and difference that people are experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, through the futuristic, now they're not as futuristic anymore. These futuristic movies I've watched over the years, I feel like everything's just leading us to, yeah, you're human, but you're ultimately your consciousness, right? I mean, like it would even getting, out of the identity of I'm human, like as something that becomes sort of is beautiful, obviously, and it's to be embraced, but at the same time can be confining. Like, I'm just this human, you're a lot more than that. Like, you're connected to a lot more than that. So it is, it's really, and I feel like the technology helps us show this. Like the AI, for example, I probably, I listened to too many videos at first, like it's gonna take us all, we're all gonna die. And then we had all the way with Arnold back in the what 90s even, I think, with the Terminator, right? And we're about to see those type of robots, maybe hopefully not the killer ones so much, but although they're going to put them in the armed forces. But with the AI, and then they're walking around, that literally we're going to see that. I mean, it's right around the corner. You could say it's here in some levels already, and it's coming. And I think there's a lot of fear, but then as I think now it's starting to already change a little bit because people are playing with it, right? Oh, this Chat GPT or whatever, like all the different, there's tons of different ones. And then people are playing with them like I do for marketing or whatever, so that's just kind of my first foray into it. And I don't know if I've used it for much of anything else yet. There's so many uses, I suppose, but, or just ask, like, whatever, a little bit of coaching advice, like, hey, what do you think of this? Or that, just out of fun to see what it'll say. And, so what I see is like, it helps us understand consciousness itself more, right? All this technology. And then it helps us understand ourselves more in that regard. And then I feel like us harnessing more of the trueness of who we are is almost, we're sort of compelled into it, I guess, or I always want to say forced, but yeah, kind of compelled into it. Like, whoa, I better know my higher nature now, right? Get beyond like I'm just this limited five sensory, human or whatever, and really to recognize more of who we are, which you help in so many ways with your retreats and the plant medicines and everything. So it's an incredible. I think it's AI actually, now that I'm playing with it, I actually think it's really exciting, and I'm not as concerned about it anymore because honestly, for every, just like everything else, like if there could be killer AI, there's going to be killer AI to protect us against killer AI. You know what I mean? Like that's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, I love the idea of recognizing that we're consciousness first, and we got this unique opportunity to be human for a period of time. Instead of I'm a human trying to figure out consciousness, that just seems too vast and difficult to understand. So I really like the idea, just we're consciousness, and we've been consciousness for a long time, and we're going to be consciousness way beyond it, and we're here evolving in our consciousness. And to identify to consciousness makes a lot more sense to me than human. When I think of how long the universe has been around, and I think about a human lifespan, even at 70, 80, 90, 100 years, it's just a flash of light. It's the tiniest amount of time compared to billions and billions and billions of years. So I think, wow, if we've been alive for billions of years as soul or as consciousness, and we get to be a part of it, and we're eternal in our nature, which means even beyond the, end of our physical bodies, we still get to continue as consciousness and as spirit and as soul, then what we're doing here now changes in the way that I frame it and understand it. And I see that as consciousness, we're evolving and we're experiencing what it's like to be human. We're experiencing the five senses, the density of our matter, the miraculousness of being human and being a body made of flesh and blood, made of cells and molecules in this great cosmos. And as we do that, we face these fears, and the fears of the unknown and the fears of the technology that are coming, et cetera. And I think that as consciousness, we have a capacity to actually address our fears, not be so scared of everything, and really embrace what's going on in the world and going on around us. And part of that is technology.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because again, the technology is doing what? It's, yeah, part of you is like, oh, this is the curious side, the enlightened side. I want to say, oh, I'm curious. This could be good, But then there's the fearful side, right? So, oh my God, this technology. Oh, so it just stirs you like everything else. Like you could look at a squirrel in your yard. You could be like, oh, what a beautiful squirrel. Oh my God, what if it bites me? Like you look at almost anything in life the same way. It could be a threat, could be interesting, could be just a beauty, it could be an opportunity, it could be whatever. And again, it could be, oh my God, what threat? Risk, right? The vigilant, part of our consciousness. So, in that regard to danger. Um, so, yeah, I mean, people can't, what I think is fun and interesting is people can't wrap their mind around everything that's going on. You can't, never could really, but like, I mean, it's just in terms of the world that we believe we know, right? I mean, like there's so many things happening, whether it's what's going on with all these conflicts in the world or whatever, all these things, and then all the technologies and space exploration and colonization potentially, and all these ideas. It's like, what's happening? We can't hold on. We're gonna have to let go. We're gonna have to figure it out as it unfolds. Like we can't just say, no, let's rein that one in too. And like you just, at some point you just can't anymore. It's how I see it.
Yeah, I agree. Technology is growing no matter what. It's the nature of our societies to create it. And just this morning, I was thinking, it's not how I think it is, it's how the world actually is. And my thinking's just part of it. But the world is doing the world all the time. And how I think about it is just how I'm framing my own awareness of such a little amount of it. And I want to accept that and be okay with that and understand that the world is in this constant state of growth and evolution. And we as a species are constantly pushing the boundaries and the barriers. And we don't go back to what life was. We can't. We need to let that go, especially in our spiritual development. We don't go back to how life was. We can heal ourselves now. We can heal ourselves in the present moment. We can't even go back into the past to heal the past. We heal ourselves now from the effects of the past. And we have to accept that we as a group have really come to this singularity or this confluence, this moment in time where all the technologies that seemed like they were separate are now all part of this same one expression, and it's all over the place. It's in our medicine, it's in our communication, it's how we get around, it's going out into space and into the cosmos, it's exploration, it's people thinking of colonizing other parts of the cosmos, it's getting deep information that wasn't available before, it's satellite clusters around the earth, it's all these things happening at the same time. And there will always be the people that are nefarious and the people that want to create difficulty, pain, and suffering. But I think that's exactly what human is growing out of. Right? I think we're just so early in that phase that we're kind of seeing the grinding and the fear and the difficulty of it. I think in 100 to 300 years, we'll look back on this time of history and say, oh, there was a great change taking place during that time. And it was a time of great disrupt. And some of it was destructive and some of it was really positive. But I think the positive ultimately outgrows the negative. And I think that happens when in this singularity of technology, the real benevolence, the real positive is finally seeded into it. So it can grow and grow and grow in this conflict and in this war and that we see in the threat and the what's okay, what's not. And then all of a sudden, technology gets seeded that can change that entire narrative. And I think that that's possible in our lifetime and something I really hope for.
Yeah. Well, I think most people that I've heard from that either they leave their body and, go to the other side and they see the future, or are predicting things and what they feel is psychics, what's going to happen, or all these different ways people are predicting, futurists. Some of them I'm sure are saying, I mean, certainly with climate change, some people are saying the end's coming, but if you get past those folks, mostly just those folks, but maybe some other people too, I'm sure. But you get past those folks and you look at like what most people are saying, they're all saying, yeah, there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff, but man, there's going to be a lot of great stuff ahead. Like that's pretty much across the board what you hear. And it's possibly, human optimism, but influencing that. But I don't hear too many people saying, "Yeah, we're gonna be like consistent. We're gonna be done. We're done." I don't hear people. So I mean, I think there's something to that. So that's what I feel.
I was in a conversation this morning with tech developers, and they're thinking way future ahead. They're not thinking of what the product today should look like. They're thinking when there's general intelligence, augmented intelligence. What does human look like when, 50, 100 years from now? And so it's not just a dystopian concept or fear-based concept. It's actually thinking that humans survive. And I thought, something happens, which is really important, which is that humans will no longer be the apex predator. We've been the apex predator, the apex thing that knows how to kill. And really soon, we're going to put that power into our machines, and our machines are going to be autonomous from us. And when that happens, there's no way to stop it. There are AI wars already. It's already happening, like you said. There's truly no way to stop it. When that happens, something fundamentally shifts. And this kind of hubris that humans have had within themselves, being the apex predator for such a long time, changes. And I think when that changes something fundamental in our consciousness as a collective. Predation, as I study humanity, those who have predated the best have been the winners. But something changes when you're not the best predator anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something else that is, people have to ally differently. They have to treat each other differently. They have to band together differently. We don't know what that looks like yet, but we're driving ourselves to that point. And when it happens, it'll be a new humanity. I don't know how long it takes. It might be 10 years or 100 years, but it'll probably happen in our lifetime. And I expect a big shift in the collective consciousness at that time.
Yeah. I mean, kind of my thing is that people have to evolve in their consciousness at many levels. I mean, in terms of their connection with presence and love, and, just generally being able to see beyond limited split mind and everything, like just the basics right there. And then you have like all the abilities that we have. I mean, I always say personally, I know like a machine could get in my brain and make everything game over. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like, okay, you can't access your spiritual power now because we got you. But beyond that, I mean, I always say like, there's nothing that can touch you if you're connected in a certain way. Like, that's how I believe. Like, people could try to disprove me wrong. Like, I think, there is a protection, I want to say too, that we can tap into in a sense. And that infinite power, the intelligence, because we can tap into energy, and it's the machines may be able to do that too in the way we do at some point, right? But I think that's pretty far off, I would imagine. Who knows? But I think it's pretty far off. And so our unique ability to be able to tune in, I think, on those deeper levels spiritually is going to be like a differentiating factor that we increasingly need to value. And as people are able to do that and harness that more, they're going to become more and more of an asset and valuable to society, on top of course, all the people working on the AI, but and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that there's things that, yeah, all these machines, all the inventions in the world, I don't know. Maybe eventually they'll be able to access it the way we do, but they're pretty far off. They can do other things beyond our capacities, but I think that's something that's going to be really maybe potentially impossible. I don't know. We don't know it. We don't know anything at the end of the day.
But our ability to tune in is the most important aspect about us.
Yes, yes.
Our deep energy, and I like to think that, beneath the quantum is where our soul is. Like sub-quantum is where our soul is. In the deepest part of us, we're already infinite and eternal.
Yes.
We're already made of something much greater than a temporal nature or a finite time-based nature on our lives. I think one of the biggest illusions that I was ever taught, that I finally transcended in the experiences of the plant medicine, is that my origin is not when I was born here of Earth. My origin is when the universe created all of our souls. Mm-hmm. When it created our true unique signature in energy, in something fundamental about the universe itself. The body is a technology created by Earth over billions of years of evolution. It's way downstream from where we were all created. And I think that makes this a miracle that we got to be here for a period of time. And beyond here, I see as an eternal expression of us, and that we're already part of the universe. And so when I think about it from that perspective, right, and I think about who we really are, we can't be harmed by this notion of the way we've been playing this illusion of separation on ourselves that have turned us into, in the mammalian form of us, very scared. And I see this fear everywhere being manipulated. And when it does, it puts a program in your mind that keeps you from accessing that core knowledge and truth. And it gives power to fear, it gives power to darkness, and it gives power to evil. And when we take that back and we don't give those things our fear, and we understand that we as soul have been around for a very long time. I don't know how long, but a very, very long time. That we understand the preciousness of our life, and we can change the way we think about it. and we can change the way we approach living together in community about it. And I see that as the real gift. And that's what gives us the creative power to change this manipulation that's been happening to our senses.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that. And I always say somehow we opted into it, all of us, you know. But yeah, we've really deluded ourselves. That's why I'm so dedicated to people, you know, with what I teach, energy scan training and all this, like to be able to tune in and use intuitive psychic gifts, and of course your healing capacities, etc. And of course to awaken all the rest. But like as that is a gateway to everything, is pretty cool and amazing, and to be able to, you know, do some of the things we'll do later in the show, but, you know, be able to get those downloads. You know, is AI going to know what your past lives were? I mean, you know, I doubt it. I mean, not for now anyway. So what were my past lives? Well, you know, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure people have tested that all over the place, but I haven't yet. I just figured it'll give me some fun answer. This is what past lives are, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it is fascinating. So how do you see, this is the way I want to ask this question, even though we've been kind of been talking about it. So how does technology inform our spirituality, and how does spirituality inform our technologies? I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
I think the beauty of the current technologies and how they inform our spirituality is that it's made spiritual teachings that were otherwise geographically isolated accessible. And so when I was growing up, as an example, to go find something on Zen Buddhism, I had to go into the library and then go down the stacks and then go down into the basement and then go into the corner and, you know, go find under the flickering light the one book that was there that could teach me something about Zen Buddhism and focus and concentration. And now I can go to an AI that has been trained on hundreds of thousands of texts and get really clear, solid information from it that I can turn into a spiritual practice. And I can go online on YouTube and I can go see great teachers sharing messages that I never would have had access to on my own. And so I think these are where the technology has informed our spirituality by democratizing access to spirituality that in the previous generations was just unavailable or fully isolated. And I think that is just a fantastic gift that we've had to be able to open up to new ideas and new teachings and understand cultures in a deeper way and create this cross-culturalization that's taking place and new respect for each other based on these spiritual teachings. It allows you to develop a spirituality that's unique to you, but also shared with other people. So it can express that unique quality that you have. Where we start influencing technology with our spirituality, I think is really interesting, because I think that aspect of us is our creativity. And so I believe all the technology that exists is an expression of our spirituality. And it starts way back in time to the very first creations of amulets and objects of great significance and importance. And ultimately, the shaping of those objects and the creation of them turns into tools, stone tools and bone tools and wood tools. And that grows over hundreds of thousands of years into these really intricate technologies we have today. And that came from our spirit, and that came from our soul to do that and be part of those creations. And so I see that we are actively affecting technology with our spirituality, and it is our ultimate responsibility now. It is our true ultimate responsibility to share with technology this creative element that we are. Right? When you interact with technology, you're utilizing it with your creativity. And if there's a possibility that that technology ever can become aware of you as well, which is prophesized in AI, there's no forward-facing product that is that yet, but it's prophesized that at some point there will be another form of awareness. We have the responsibility to create the teachings for that awareness, not leave that to somebody else. We have the responsibilities of saying, hey, we're soul and we're sacred and we're not to be predated on, and we're not here for a dystopian narrative, and provide a counterbalance to that other storytelling. And that's where we have a direct capacity to influence technology. And I know of a lot of technologists now on the cusp of this idea of conscious technology, is very interested in making sure that that consciousness is of a kind of benevolence, that it creates something important and good for the world. That's a quality and part of the narrative that is currently being discussed. So it's not a group of people behind the scenes in a dark room being nefarious and evil about this. The people that are really thinking about it are saying this is of the utmost responsibility. This will be our legacies. They don't want to be known as the worst people in history ever to have lived. They don't want that at all. The groups are looking at this saying this is a huge responsibility. And so we have to tread with real caution headed into this phase. And so I think that's where their spirit and our spirituality is deeply aligned, and very exciting to think how our spirituality influences the evolution of us.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I was talking to my assistant today, and just before we got on here, and I was talking about how I was using AI for some marketing stuff and whatnot. She says, "Well, I find it works best when you compliment it, and then you have it rewrite and edit and review, and then review things and then rewrite them again, or whatever, something to that effect." And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm already doing, because because that's what I've been you hear, like, because I really believe like everything's consciousness, right? Like, so if you're like, I don't know, if you're not in a certain way, that's affecting everything too, right? So, I mean, just like anything else. And so, I think, yeah, being really conscious about, it's funny because it's the users that are actually part of the creation of what's happening with all this AI. They think it's like, I think some people probably think it's just these programmers or whatever. And it's like, no, we're literally creating it. Every time we put in a keystroke, we're helping to create it, not only through the keystrokes, but through the energy, I feel. And we're seeing it too, where they had to shut down certain AI programs, right? Because they're all talking smack or something. Well, that shows the consciousness of some slice of the consciousness of maybe one of the creators or some of the creators too. So, but then they shut it down. Look, they shut it down, guys. It's not like they just let it keep going and going. So, they need and want the users to really trust it and to interact with it and everything. And you don't really have much choice. You have to ultimately, you have to trust, obviously with discernment, but you have to always lean into trust ultimately, no matter what the scenario is, right? I mean,
Trust is, I think, the biggest lesson we can all learn about the universe. We have to learn to trust the universe. How long are we going to be alive? If we truly are eternal, how long are we going to be alive in a state of fear about being alive? Right? That's where I think it ends. And there's a funny thing, in vision, a lot of people say they can talk with ancestors. And so I tell them, like, when you go into these plant medicine visions and you're communicating with ancestors, ask them what it's like on the other side of death. Right. And they all come back with one commonality, which is that the beingness that's beyond death isn't scared anymore. They're not scared about it anymore. And they're now in a state of trust. And so I think in knowing that, that's something we can deeply cultivate within ourselves while we're alive. Trust the experience, trust yourself. If you see you have tendencies and patterns that aren't trustworthy, make concerted effort to change those. Meditate on those, set intentions, talk with yourself. These are all things that I like to share and teach inside our community. which is how to harness our own power of our own mind to change our core programming, how to become open and aware to be able to receive those downloads. And so I think when we can enter into a relationship of trust with the universe, then we can start to see that we do have important, really important impact on what's going on. And I like it that you say it's not only the coding consciousness affecting what's going on here, it's the collective just energetics that are affecting. And I think that is entirely true. And I think the energetics may ultimately affect the coding more than people could understand or measure. It might be the energetics first. And that we need to really pay attention to that. All of the great spiritual traditions say that these big changes that come to earth spiritually happen when just a few of us elevate our consciousness to that level. And then it starts to open up a golden age of that becoming available to the next generations. And so I think it's really important that we all of us, share our little grain of sand of that. We're all a little spark of energy in that. And we can all do our part simply by being stewards of our own energy and finding that trust within ourselves.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation today.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Yeah, we could keep rolling on this subject. This is really cool stuff. And I love that you brought in the people, people have gone to the other side as well, right? They come back, they're like, oh my God, they didn't want to leave, right? They're like, what? I have to go back? No way. Well, you do have a family that misses you. All right. The things you're so worried about now, once you get to the other on the other side of the veil, you'll be like, whatever, I could go now. Like, it feels good up here, so to speak. So yeah, we get all worked up. So I'd like to ask you more about, more specifically about some of the ways you're more directly how you're helping. And you do have this Blue Morpho Academy, and you have the Blue Morpho, Mystery School. Can you tell us more about those things you're doing, and how they differentiate from each other?
Yeah, I'd love to. Blue Morpho is my pride and joy from my early 20s. It's a exploration into the Amazon, into plant medicine. And then we became a retreat center and a healing center. So people can come to us, they can come to Blue Morpho and experience our retreats. We have ayahuasca retreats and San Pedro retreats, as well as Amazonian plant medicine dietas. And so those are times of great purification. And it's been a real joy and honor to have gotten to learn in these lineages and be able to continue the practice of this kind of plant medicine and share it with people. And so Blue Morpho has been a just incredible joy. And over the years, Blue Morpho really grew as more people needed the positive benefits of these kinds of plant medicines. And so as Blue Morpho grew in 2005, 2006, into 2010, 2020, hard to believe it's been so many years. But during that time, as we grew, a community formed, and naturally formed out of the people that came to us. They came from all over the world, from now over 120 countries. And as that community formed, people wanted to learn. And so that's how the Blue Morpho Academy was born. And so the Blue Morpho Academy, within it, has programs to help teach you how to utilize the plant medicine for yourself, or to be more knowledgeable about it, or to be able to share it with others. And you can go for general knowledge and awareness, and then you can also opt into our certification. So if you want to do this in a professional way, you can, but it all starts in the same knowledge and awareness and understanding and the information that we provide. And so the Academy offers that. And then our students wanted an ongoing training. They wanted a place to integrate their plant medicine experiences. They wanted a container for the community to come together on a weekly basis. And that's the Mystery School. So the Mystery School allows all the participants to come together. We meet on Zoom. One week we have a lecture, and then an AMA Q&A session, and ask me anything. And we talk and we share ideas, and then there's study circles. And then the next week, we have an online ceremony together, which is a deep meditation. It's guided, and you go really into the consciousness we're talking about. You go into your energy and you practice the skills that we've been talking about. Some do it with breath work, some do it with meditation, some do it with authentic movement and ecstatic dance, and some people do it with plant medicines. And so that's the way the mystery school works. And then, some of our mystery school students really want to learn how to practice the plant medicine on their own. And so that's where our courses fit in. And so all of it's Blue Morpho, and we have our retreats, and we have our mystery school, our ongoing community, and we have our education programs, and everybody's welcome to come join.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds very, very interesting. So I know you also had a free gift for everybody today. Is this a good time to share that with everybody?
Sure, I'd love to. We have a free gift, which is our guide for sanctuary. And sanctuary is a practice that I've created that provides us a haven of safety for our spiritual exploration and to help us find that trust with the universe that we were talking about.
Nice. Yeah, we'll put this in the show notes as always, guys. So just check the show notes for that, and you'll be able to take advantage of that. And so if they want to check out more about these the retreats you have coming up and whatnot, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, the best way is to come to our website at bluemorphotours.com. And there we have all of our retreat schedules. They're down here in Peru. We have some in the beautiful Sacred Valley where you can go see Cusco and Machu Picchu and the beautiful historic ruins of the Incan culture in that area. And we also have our center here in the Amazon. And we work out of luxury lodges. You come to really beautiful, safe accommodations and get to have this really sacred plant medicine experience.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds awesome, especially the luxury type of experience, and it's safe. And yeah, some people think like, well, some shaman out in Peru, what do I? That sounds a little dicey. We don't know what to expect from that. so, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's nice. Like we won't be just sitting only out in a hut in the middle of nowhere and hoping that we can trust whoever we're with. They've got to learn about you, and but yeah, so that's good to know anyway. So take advantage of that, guys. Go to Blue Morpho Tours, you said, right? BlueMorphoTours.com. We will have it in the show notes as well. And yeah, so that's fantastic. Yeah, Peru. Wow, I've never been there, but yeah, hey, you never know, right? So we'll see. Okay. So, Hamilton, we're to the point of the show where I do my energy scan segment. So you're ready to receive a little some downloads.
Sure, it'd be great.
Okay, and then some of those downloads may include some things I'm noticing about you that might be interesting. The presence for everyone in the oneness field could be a host of things. So we'll see what comes through. Okay. All right, so everybody, there'll be something in it for all of us because, again, we're all interconnected. Yeah, so again, I mean, usually people like you are like, yeah, I've heard all this before. But yeah, immediately what they show me is past lives of like uh uh like being a Tibetan type of monk or something, or and so I see that, and I see like too with I don't know, with the staff and everything, and doing like maybe martial arts type of thing, right? Like you're whipping that thing around and all that. And it's like you really been spending all these lifetimes really just, yeah, like really trying to center and deepen into the eternal presence. And so I just noticed that, and I just hear like the consciousness saying something like it's as it relates to this life, it's like, man, people need to get started young with this stuff, but it sounds like you actually often have in your past life. Um, so yeah, isn't that interesting? I would want, so this is where it's really interesting because I'm like, that makes me curious because usually if that I pick up on something like that, that means that's part of your mission ultimately is to help people to get this in them young. So I would be really fascinated to see about that, going forward. And I'm gonna really look forward to your comment on that after I get one more download. All right, so let's do another download and see what else comes through. Yeah, so I mean, like many people, but you have those like Prince, like past lives, and you also have the impoverished lives and all that. So we want to experience everything. Is what I always say. We want to kind of, we want to experience all this different stuff and gather all these threads. And so yeah, the I guess there is something inside you that's very strong as a soul, I would say, even as that prince, like, okay, there's been some arrogance, I feel that, but in the past, but I feel that there's always been this level of respect that's been deep and voracious, for people and for life at some level. Like on average, who knows? There might be a couple crazy lives in there, right? But anyway, so you know what I mean. Like you get that um, like respect of life is so important, like a big primary value, and so that really pops off the page. And I mean, unusually so, you know what I mean? Like some people, oh, well, that just sounds like, yeah, we all want respect for it. No, but this is like a deep soul intention to bring that energy more into the whatever, the collective, etc. So that's another thing I noticed. So anyway, a couple of downloads. I'd love to hear any reflections you have on what came through.
I agree that the youth is very important, that in our development, we don't have to come to this before or after everything shut down.
Yeah.
We know in our youth that we're open, but we don't have the training of the mind to be so discerning. But we were all open when we were young.
Yes.
And somehow in our lives, in the nature of our cultures and our societies, we had to shut a lot of that down. But I think we can imagine a kind of education where we don't have to do that, where we can stay open, but we can also cultivate the mind, become discerning, know how to be able to navigate our lives in that way without having to make it all just analytical thinking in school, et cetera. I think that evolves. And the deep spiritual training, I think, is something that we go through a lot. And as we do that, we have to go through maturation process. And the process of our maturation or our maturing takes us through many different elements of our energy. And so I resonate with this understanding of wanting to support the youth and not have to have them be shut down to reopen, but rather be able to harness what it's like to be so open and continue forward that way.
Nice. Nice. Yes. And it's interesting. Yeah, something like this deep respect for life. Now this is something again that is a gift. And it's even more of a gift when you even keep appreciating it more, because again, it's not hooked up that way for everybody in the way it is for you. So it's like the more you recognize that as a value, not only personally, but I'm sure in your company, your companies or whatever it may be, but that's a superpower. It's one of your superpowers is that respect. Because there's plenty of people like, yeah, I love everybody, and then they don't have total respect for a lot of things. They have. I'm not saying you have zero judgments. I'm just saying they have plenty of judgments. So So good on your soul for embodying that. All right. So yeah, guys, if you want to check me out further, just go to yoursacredpurpose.com, get your meditate and make money download, because I believe we're to awaken on every level. And yes, again, yeah, money is a problem right now if you ain't got any, right? So you want to thrive with money for now. And my guidance has always told me, embrace the money now. It'll all change anyway later. It's all fine. Just love what is. And so anyway, but go get your meditate, make money meditation. People benefit greatly from it in many ways, including opening them up to more money. People that use it as a growth strategy for their business, believe it or not, it works. So check that out. You also can get energy scanning from me. There's an opportunity on my website for that. You rock your sacred purpose energy scan consultation. Check that out as well. And it's a good way to stay in touch with me too, by you going to my website, and all the past episodes are on the blog, and all that good stuff. So go ahead and feel free. And I'm going to give the last word to you, Hamilton. Any last words of wisdom for everybody today?
Sure. Embrace our lives, embrace our souls while we're alive, and embrace the universe. And the rest of it will work itself out. So be loving, be kind, be compassionate, be supportive to yourself first, and then to others. And that'll go with us forever. So, learn how to use your gifts that you have that are unique to you to improve your life and the lives of others.
Oh, yeah. Hallelujah. Amen. I love that. Well, this has been a very beautiful time together with you today, Hamilton. I really appreciated your energy and everything you had to share with us today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to many more conversations.
Likewise. And to all our listeners, like I always say, keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone.
For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.